Hi guys, how are you? It's Katty Lights again from Beautifully Rooted. And just as a reminder, Beautifully Rooted is a Christian mental health and education corporation. We love the word and we love psychoeducation, and that's what we want to present to you, okay? So today we're going to be talking about a topic that I think is really important. It's going to be very straightforward and it will be pretty quick. So I hope that you get this one major point. We're going to go over 5 points, but there's going to be one major point that I want you to get. Okay, so what we're talking about today is when somebody mistreats you, and I'm going to talk about a concept that I hope will be very healing and freeing. Okay, so let's get started. So the first point, okay, when somebody mistreats you, usually it has more to do with them than it does you. It's more about what's going on in here or not going on in here, or what's going on in here or not going on in here, than it does about you, okay? So that can include many things like relationship problems, communication styles that go awry, rejection that you get or receive, abuse that you have endured, okay? Violations, rapes. It can include things like anger and pressuring that you've received, and control stuff and passive aggressiveness and all those kind of things. When somebody has mistreated you, usually it has more to do with them and something that is lacking or something that is wrong in them than it does in you, okay? People don't always operate from a healthy place. We are sinners, we sin, and sometimes we sin against people, okay? We don't always do the right thing, and sometimes it causes the wrong thing for people. We don't always respond the right way to our own pain, and so we end up injuring somebody else. Sometimes we're so self-centered, and we end up not having empathy for other people or not being able to see outside of ourselves. And that ends up causing harm for somebody emotionally or physically, maybe even. Sometimes we carry on generational unhealthy patterns and we take it into the next generation. And sometimes we avoid growing ourselves and improving because we don't want to face the difficult feelings or grief that can come up along that process of getting better. And so we end up keeping the same patterns that harm somebody else, okay? The second point that I want to make that really is just a reiteration of the first point, okay? So it should be very simple, very straightforward. Sometimes other people's sins affect us, but that doesn't mean we are the cause of it, it's our fault, or that we are directly to blame for it, okay? Or that we directly deserve it, I mean. So I'm going to repeat that. Other people's sins may affect us. It may spill over into our lane. But that doesn't mean we directly deserve it, and that doesn't mean that it's our fault, okay? It's a very important concept that I want you to take in and to process, okay? So that leads us to our third point. Why do I want you to take that in and to process this? Well, because I think it can be so freeing and so healing, okay? I think that this concept, when you understand that when people mistreat you, it's usually about them and not you, it can help you move from trauma to healing. It can help you move from being stuck to resilience. I really think that if you can accept that sometimes people do bad things, and because there's something going on in here that needs to be fixed in them, and not because it has something to do with needing something to be fixed in you, if you can accept that sometimes people just do bad things, and sometimes to you they do bad things because they're sinful, because they're misguided, because they don't operate from a healthy place. If you can accept those things, then you don't have to let whatever they did or however they mistreated you define you or define your worth. You can let it define them, okay? Accepting this principle can help you be free sometimes to go from this equation and to go along the process of healing, okay? Next, I told you we're gonna go pretty fast today. So I want to make sure that I know that understanding these principles, understanding these concepts, or this one major concept anyway, does not mean things like the way you're mistreated was okay. That's not what it means. That the abuse that you endured was not wrong. That's not what it means. It was wrong, okay? It doesn't mean that you don't hold that person accountable. You probably should hold that person accountable in some way, okay? And that doesn't mean that you shouldn't grieve or can't grieve what was done to you or what you are dealing with now because of that. And it doesn't mean that you don't have a right to go along a process of healing, okay? So understanding that When somebody mistreats you, it has more to do with them than you, does not mean those things, okay? All right, next. And lastly, something that can, if this concept is kind of unclear for you, or maybe you get it logically, but emotionally, it's a hard one. That can happen because when people cross over into our boundaries, things get blurred. Our understanding of boundaries get blurred, okay? So something that can help you with understanding this principle and to move forward is learning healthy boundaries. Healthy boundaries, or boundaries in general, would be where someone else ends and where you begin, and vice versa, okay? So sometimes we need to have that clarified about, where do I end, where do I begin, where do I end, and where do you begin and where do you end? What is in your lane and what is in my lane, okay? You can get that help from a therapist. You can get that help from books that are out there. Henry Cloud and John Townsend wrote a whole bunch of stuff on this, and they have a lot of groups that are great, that are offered at various churches in the community. There's lots of other authors that also do a lot of work on this. I really do encourage you to learn about healthy boundaries if this is some place that you're unclear, okay? And again, and maybe you understood boundaries before, but because somebody violated your boundaries, it can make you question whether you should have boundaries, whether boundaries are appropriate, whether you're worthy to have boundaries. The answer to that question is yes, you should have boundaries, and you are worthy to have boundaries. Sometimes people overstep your boundaries because of something that's going on within them. That doesn't mean something is wrong with you, okay? So I really, really, really encourage you to go get help with that, okay? Because it can be so healing, even from abuse. Learning healthy boundaries and resetting those lines and clearing up that grayness can be so, so, so helpful. I encourage you, okay? All right, let's go over a couple scriptures. Of course, our greatest healing comes from the great healer, right? So here are a couple scriptures to remind you that the Lord loves you and that he wants you to be well, okay? John 10:10, Jesus tells us, the thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I came that they may have a life and have it abundantly. He came so that you may have life and have it abundantly, okay? Even if the thief tried to come and steal and kill and destroy. Okay, Isaiah 54:17. No weapon that is fashioned against you shall succeed, and you shall refute every tongue that rises against you in judgment. This is the heritage of the servants of the Lord, and their vindication from me, declares the Lord. Jeremiah 29:11, last scripture, which you can probably repeat verbatim. You probably know this one. It's such a great scripture. Well, they're all great scriptures, right? For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans for welfare and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope. I want that to stick with you, okay? I hope you have a wonderful week, and thanks for listening. Don't forget to give us a like and follow. It really would help us out. And tell your friends and family about us, okay? All right, God bless you. Our website is www.beautifully.rooted.com, BEYOUTIFULLY, rooted.com. And please check out our YouTube. We could use a little help on growing that. Okay, God bless you.